So again, welcome back to the 2021 Oklahoma Learning Innovation Summit. It's an honor to welcome you all to a really special session that we have programmed today. This is called Bringing Virtual Reality to Higher Education. This is a long-running project that's actually been running as a collaboration between OneNet, which is our technology outfit at the State Regents, and Southeastern Oklahoma State University. So my name is Brad Griffith, and I'm going to be serving as the moderator for this session today, along with Robert Hales from Northeastern State University. Bob is actually, I believe, the Director of Distance Learning there, and I'm the Director of Online Learning for the State Regents. So presenting, I say, as the primary individual today is Crystala Smith, who comes again from the Southeastern Oklahoma State University, Director of Distance Learning there. And we do have, again, a large number of panelists today, and I have all their names here. So I would like to welcome you all individually, because these are perhaps going to be some of the most special guests that we have for the Learning Innovation Summit, which are students who have worked on projects. So it's an honor to welcome, and in no particular order, I believe, Crystala, that you sent these: Jared West, Dakota Adams, Max Hamblin, Nathaniel Marshall, Allison Haley, Kat Waitman, Jacob Hackney, Kaylee Herman, and Madison Saunders. So without further ado, Crystala, I'll take it, or let you take it away, and we will be here to answer questions and help moderate the chat throughout the session. So very excited for this one today.
All right, thank you. So virtual reality is something that is exciting for us to dream up how it might impact education. And we've been doing that for several years now, but it's one thing to dream it up and imagine how it might and have those conversations. And it's another thing to actually get it into classrooms. So our goal with this project has been, how can we get it into classrooms? It really started with a presentation in OCO when Von Royal visited about a year ago. And from there, we've had several conversations and been working toward how we can accomplish this goal. The project that we're doing at Southeastern is a partnership with OneNet and also very much in collaboration with Cole and OCO. And we've involved lots of student workers to find ways that we can build virtual reality enabled modules. So one of the concerns that I had, and I assume other people like me would have when it comes to virtual reality, is that bringing it into higher ed means that you have to have certain kinds of technology available to the students. So we can't really expect all of our students to own a virtual reality headset, and we certainly can't afford to purchase them for them. And when we're starting this in the year of COVID-19, making a virtual reality lab where people share headsets is also pretty inappropriate. So with those conflicts, I guess, in mind, we were looking for solutions, and the newest version of Captivate for PC has the ability to bring in 360 video and images. So we did some experiments with creating some modules with a 360 image, and kind of from there started dreaming up where this could go. And we came up with several ideas and started bringing in faculty from across campus, from a lot of different departments, and asked them for their ideas where this could go. The advantage to using Captivate and using the strategy that it employs is that it can be used on a computer or a phone or a headset. So if a student doesn't have a headset, that's fine. They can still go through the module from their computer, which I'll show you in just a minute. But if they do have a headset, they can use that. So we've been learning a lot about Captivate and how that works. One of the things we've learned is that within Captivate, there's two file types where you can use 360 pictures and videos. One is called a VR project and another is a responsive project. The responsive project is built a little bit more for seeing everything on a computer, the VR for a headset, but both can be used with either device. So we've played a lot with both. Just to kind of give some scope of it, I'm going to share a few things on my screen. The first thing that you're going to see is what I'm calling our project queue and where we are with several different projects. And this will give you a sense of the the breadth that we're trying to cover and involve across campus. The one that we have one that is actually in a course for students to start testing. They haven't started testing it, but it's there ready for them to, and that's one on scaffolding for the safety department. You'll see some pictures of that in a little bit. We have some from the biological sciences. We have one on soil textures, is the first of those that we have really close. This one has been a fun project because it's grown and grown and grown. She's wanted to add more and more along the way, so it's a very large project. There's another one on simple stains, also from the sciences, another lab. We're also working on a choir module, and the choir module allows the students to sing with the choir or practice with the choir and then split out and practice with their sectionals. We have some on dissection. We've captured 2 of them so far. We have one on an earthworm dissection, and then we have another on a sea star dissection. We have some for science lab tours that are going through the safety and orientation of the science labs, explaining to them what a Bunsen burner is, for example, and other tools that they would find in the lab. For safety airflow calibration, we also have a library tour. And you can see some others that are coming up. Some of these we've done parts. So the ones that I'm calling ready to start are things that we have pieces of, but we haven't started building the module yet. We have some that we're going to use for business and professional speaking to have a virtual audience. Another on sound level meters for an acoustics class. We have one on tree identification. Coming up, we're going to be doing a courtroom simulation for the criminal justice department. We also have some that the art professors are going to do. And actually, since I made this list, we have another that we've added for a business case study. So a lot of fun things. Our organization and planning is all done on a big Google sheet that everybody can help me edit to help keep up with things that we can share with us and the state. So when we create these, they can go directly into Blackboard, but Blackboard is not really a necessary component. It can be any LMS. If you're familiar at all with SCORM files, SCORM packages, that's the way that they publish, and you can put those in an LMS to run through the LMS. You can connect them to the Grade Center. There's some pros and cons there. What you see right now is some of the ones that we have that can be sampled that are in Blackboard. We have also found a way to put them in the server and link directly to them, which we will probably do more often just because the file sizes are really large. Some are able to piggyback off of YouTube and some aren't. So I'm going to open a few of these. The one I'm going to open first is soils. And you'll see some more of these in a video in a minute, but just so that you can kind of see how it works functionality wise. Let me switch my share. So in this lab, make it a little bigger. So this is what you see when you open it, but I'm going to take my mouse and click and drag, and I can see around the room. This is similar to what you could do if you were looking at a real estate tour online, which also uses 360 images. In this one, she started with a soils lab, and then the pore space, which is done a different day, piggybacks off the soils lab. And then she also wanted to do labs, the math for the labs to help students calculate those, and she wanted it put in with these. So the students would choose which path they're going to go down. We're going to pick soils lab as an example. And again, each of these you can turn around. We can embed videos.
So today what we're going to do is we are going to
And then we can also see hotspot images. So notice over here, there's a lot of tools that she has laid out, and we can click on those to get more information about them. In the development of these, our student workers are in teams. We have a video team that covers both the 2D videos and 3D 360 videos and images. We also have some who do the graphic design. So Max did a lot of the graphic design on these. There's another one that Jared's done a lot on. the instructors are actually asked what to put for each of these. So we actually we make a Google Slides presentation that has one picture per slide and ask them to fill in the notes with what they want students to know about each thing. And so that's what the text is exactly what the instructor told us to write there. So this lab is interesting and fun to do in this format because the teacher moves around the room a lot. So she's over here, she does a demonstration. And then the next step, she moves over to this area. So the camera moves with her to have a different view. And then next she's going to move over to the sink. So we click by the sink to move with her to see the demonstration there. And in each of these, there's videos and hotspots. I'm going to go back to, oops, hang on. So in a little while, I'm actually going to drop some information in the chat where you will be able to open this course and you can click on any of these. So when I do that, just so you understand, none of them are what we are calling finished. They are all in progress, but you can test and see different things with each of them. So the one that I just showed you is called Texture Determination of Soils. That's the second one there. The first one is on scaffolding. Both of these are responsive projects. You may have noticed that when I clicked on the video, it filled the screen. That's one of the differences that you might notice when you're looking at these compared to the one on Simple Stains, which is a VR module. The responsive projects are designed to be seen primarily on a computer. If it has a 360 video, then in the headset, you can click the VR mode and be fully submerged and move around and see the room. In the VR, the 360 images and videos both work, where you can move around and see everything. So when you go in here, the ones that are farthest along are the ones at the top. The library module also, you'll see a little bit of that in a minute, and I can demo more at the end. We have a few more at the bottom that have kind of just pieces, so be patient on those, but you can kind of get the idea of where we're going with some of those. So one of the things that we wanted to do with this session, though, is give you an idea of our perspective of where the project is going from our student workers' perspectives. Because like Brad mentioned, we have a lot of the students on the call today. And after I stop talking and we watch this video, I want you guys to have an opportunity to ask them questions and interact with them. So I'm going to share a video that was just created in the last 2 days. So be patient. We finished it 5 minutes before the session. So ignore any roughness, but you'll get to meet the student workers through this video and see a little bit more of the modules. And then after the video, I'll drop some resources in the chat and we can discuss more from there. So hang on, I need.
University, we're creating virtual reality enabled modules to benefit classes both for face-to-face and online students. We have a variety of departments, including the sciences, choir, the arts, criminal justice, business. We're excited to bring these new experiences to the students all over campus.
The VR project is a way to allow online students to have a similar experience to ones on campus by directly immersing them in the classroom from a distance.
The VR project is our way of taking in-person classrooms and putting them online. That way students have more engagement outside of the classroom as well as inside the classroom. It gives us a chance to kind of really dive deeper into the material, so students are able to interact with the instructor on a way that they weren't able to before.
And it can also provide a lot that classrooms can't, like it can provide like close-ups, or it could provide asides. It's sort of like the merging of the best of being in both a classroom setting and having the capabilities of online learning.
The project is being created mostly by our student workers from a variety of majors across campus. They're getting to learn about the 360 camera, Captivate, graphic design, and putting a wide variety of skills to use that they'll be able to carry forward into their careers in the future.
And I am the lead on the 360 video team for the 360 camera.
That I am one of the Captivate team leaders. So what that means is that I do a lot of research on Captivate, the program that we're using to create the VR modules. I'm in charge of creating the modules and working with faculty and other CIDT members to ensure that they're as accessible and as kind of high quality as what we're expecting and looking for out of this project.
My role is the accessibility, so making sure that all students, no matter if they are disabled or not, are able to access these VR projects.
Called Captivate, and I actually add the images, the 360 images, I add them and chain them together so that you can move between them. And I also add little points in places where you'd want to see, you know, maybe there's a picture over there that you want to see closer up, or something, little text about a guy or something. You can click that little point and it'll bring up a blow up image.
This is a new app, new program. That is something that I have never done before, so it's really challenging that and trying to get the format and all the different components that go together in it. It's very new territory for me, but I love new things.
The most challenging project has definitely been building the system as we go along. I'm the kind of person that likes to have all the pieces of the puzzle at once, and this project, because we're the pioneers on this, we are building it as we go. So it's kind of like finding a new puzzle piece or carving one out as we develop our process and we develop our system. We've kind of tried out a few different methods, but every time I come into work, we find a new way to make it better and more efficient. So that's been a really awesome thing.
But the most challenging part was learning how to use the equipment. I wasn't experienced beforehand, but CIDT taught me all of the skills I needed to work here.
These modules can be experienced on a variety of devices. You can use them on your computer just by clicking and dragging around the room, similar to the way you would experience a real estate tour. You can also open them on your phone and be able to physically move around and see the environment. You can also use them in a VR headset. So they're very flexible and can adapt to whatever technology the student already has.
The VR project is a project that allows us to be able to have learning in different styles, because you have auditory learners, you have visual learners, you have kinesthetic learners. VR is the ability to allow all these learners to have another chance at working on what's being discussed in the classroom, and to have multiple styles to better understand what's going on.
It's almost like a treasure hunt, an interactive game, which is pretty neat.
You can actually go in and click on different items, like be able to see something, like click on a picture and it pops up and it's like you're in the classroom.
When the 360 image is in a 2D screen, it's really hard to, everything's all warped and it's hard to get your bearings what you're looking at and kind of add them to where it's going together.
These modules are interactive, meaning you can move around, look around you, above, behind you. You can also click on hotspots for more information, which might be text, it might be images, it might be videos, and some of them even have questions that you'll answer for your instructors before.
Some of the things that I've done so far is I've worked on a scaffolding module where we had to go out and take a bunch of pictures of Dr. Nichols building a scaffold from scratch, and then I had to reassemble all of those photos in the Captivate module.
My primary role is to help build and create the Captivate projects from start to finish. So that usually involves me looking at a document that says step 1 through however many steps, and then go off of that, use the pictures and the videos that have been provided to me and put them into Captivate and be able to bring it to life exactly as the document had said.
I get to add my own little things to make it perfect in my eyes. That like say you're in a 3D space, you're looking around and there's a desk right beside you. I'll make the bubble big because it's right beside you. Then you look to the side, there's a hallway, and I'll make that bubble small to show that you're going farther. And I just like adding my own sort of little things that I think makes it perfect.
So we are currently working on adding captions and visual descriptions to all the modules, which include text-to-speech for any speech-driven learning. We make sure all our videos have closed captions. We're making sure that every single step of the way, we are ensuring that every student should be able to access these things, whether they are blind, they have they're hard of hearing, whether they have a mobility issue that would not allow for traditional VR application.
I think the most challenging part of this project for me has been making sure that we get all of the footage that we need while we're there, so that we don't have to keep on rescheduling with the same professor to get one little picture that we missed out on for the first time.
It's all about being organized whenever it comes to these projects.
Probably the most enjoyable part of this is actually when I had finished the project, or at least thought I was finished, and I was able to preview the project as a whole, and then actually dropping it into the demo course and playing with it like I'm a student and trying to see exactly how the student would want to interact, and then finding my own little errors and then fixing those. That was my favorite part for sure whenever I work with those files.
My favorite part about this project is seeing the final projects, the modules themselves, looking around with those and sort of interacting with them, seeing how they work. It's really interesting.
Of course, VR project for me is seeing the reactions of people when they actually see the modules created. I'm trying to integrate classroom learning, but from home. So during the 2020 coronavirus pandemic, a lot of students were forced to do online courses, and they miss a little je ne sais quoi with the courses that way. So what we're trying to do with the VR is take up the slack that you wouldn't get between a online course and an in-person course.
Hopefully these modules would make online students feel less isolated from the campus experience.
I hope that whenever the students are actually using these modules, they're actually experiencing a whole new way of learning.
All right, so now you know a little bit more about our student workers and their thoughts on it. I am going to drop some information in the chat. And this is a link to our Blackboard site. When you click on that, you can use the username and password test for both, all lowercase, and you can actually open that demo course. And you can play around while we're talking, and you can ask some questions and things. I do want to note that we're excited to answer questions, and I'm excited for my student workers to answer some questions, but do know that some questions we may not know the answers to. This project has been very new, and we're learning as we go. So we've definitely learned a lot of things about 360 captures, a lot about using Captivate, a lot about what all it takes as a team. We've really enjoyed the collaboration, but we've also spent a lot of time just trying to figure things out and redoing things that we decided we didn't do right the first time. So, is there anything that specifically anyone would like to see, whether that be organization or ask the students, or do you want me to open any of the other modules?
Crystal, I will just say that we have one comment in the chat that there's already somebody wanting to steal all of these wonderful students that you have the privilege of working with. And I just want to say how blown away I am by seeing the diversity of expertise that's brought to this project by the students. I think it seems like this is just made better because of their input. We build things all the time, obviously, from the faculty and administrator end, but having student input makes this that much better. And you can actually say to fellow students, we built this for you, so that you can actually succeed in your courses and do better. So again, everybody feel free to put questions in the chat or put something that you want to see. You can also unmute yourself. And I do have a couple of questions that popped into my head that I can perhaps get us started with, if that's okay, Crystal.
Absolutely.
This one I would just ask to any of the students on the call or on the panel that may like to answer. Did any of you have prior experience with VR or AR, perhaps as a user, or maybe if you were into gaming? I'm just curious because it seems like you all have built up such a high level of expertise for being able to build out these types of activities. Did you come to the table with anything already?
Short of just using one for flight simulations and that sort of thing, no.
Thanks, Nathaniel.
I do have quite a bit of experience with VR headsets because I use them to mostly play video games and stuff like that. And that's actually, my experience with that, I feel made me well equipped for this position because I signed up for this project as soon as I saw it because I think that, VR has a lot of potential. And so when I saw the opportunity to help push VR forward into sort of more of the mainstream, and help with something like education, I knew I had to help with that.
Thanks for that perspective, Michael. And I would say too, from what I've even seen, it's been so interesting to watch how this stuff has become easier to produce and also to consume, even on the end of gaming. So it's just awesome that we have opportunities like this to bring it to the classroom, on a bigger scale. Right.
I should have mentioned before too that one of the goals of this, Brad did, and others did a presentation earlier on OER. So part of this project is that it'll be an open education resource. So other institutions will actually have access to the finished products that you could use, as well as our project files where you can use them as templates and replace and put your own images and content into.
Thanks, Crystal, for that reminder. And that is, again, one of the best benefits about having the backing of OneNet and the ability to support a project like this. We have the ability to share it out with others across the state. Again, I don't want to steal the thunder, but I do have other questions, of course.
Go ahead.
All right, so I'm just curious, again, for the students that have been working on this, are there any areas that you all have thought about so far that aren't being touched yet within subject areas on this project, but you could maybe see a use for this in the future? I mean, whether it's in courses or perhaps areas around your campus, I'm just curious to know, where do you really see this going, after this project is concluded?
I would like to see the history department at a university use this in their course materials. I'm not sure how that would look, but I would absolutely love for that to happen.
To counter that, Nathaniel, I would really like to see the art departments, have more opportunities to kind of share what they do. That was one of the things, we hadn't actually gotten any faculty instructors from the art department to sign up for the project. And so in my classes, I was like, okay, listen, I really like what you're doing in this class. I think that it would be beneficial if we made this a VR project. You guys need to come in for a consultation. And that's kind of how we got some of the art department instructors in, was just that, like, listen, we're doing this big project. This is something that you guys need to jump in on. And since that, it's been really neat to see all of the ideas that they have, because we've been showing them what we've been doing with other instructors. So it's kind of cool to see, like, once we show them a little like taste, they kind of take it and they're like, we have to do all of these different projects now.
Let me note that the art department was brought in independently by Max. She did that completely.
I think that's pretty hilarious, Max, because sometimes, I work full time in this area and deal with these kinds of technologies in my job. And, it's not always the easiest thing to get people to consider to use this type of technology. So you've kind of given me something to consider on that, using students as advocates in here and making them ask for it. Perhaps that's a way we can get this a little bit more broadcast out there, is, communicating that need for it. I think it's also really great too to see that you and Nathaniel have these different perspectives too among discipline areas, because I want everything. I can totally see what you're both talking about being enabled with this kind of technology out there. And luckily, we have some opportunities that are going to be coming down for more things like this, I think, to happen statewide. So thanks very much for humoring me on those questions.
I actually get a question about turnaround time. How long does it take to put a module, course, like whatever the deliverable is? What sort of time are we talking about? Like a semester, a month, a week?
We're still figuring that out.
That's a good answer.
We just started in January, so
okay,
that helps. I feel like we've gotten a long way, especially considering that we've redone a whole lot of everything we've done. So, and Max could actually talk a little bit more probably about the Captivate side of it and time it would take to put that together.
Yeah, so really it just depends on the project that we're doing. For a lot of the biology classes that have the lab steps, it takes a little bit longer. I know that Nathaniel was starting to get a little like peeved at all of our scaffolding images and things like that because we kept going back there, and it was a 3-day filming that we had to do. And it was just a matter of making sure that we got all of the content so that it would be the best quality that we could get it to be, and have the most information into one module. So for the soils one, I think that one took about a month. For some of the art ones, they'll take 2 weeks to, maybe a month and a half, that kind of thing. But it really just depends on what the instructor is wanting, how fast they get back to us with their feedback and their questions, and how much information they'd like us to include in the module.
So Max, is it more of like an iterative, collaborative process? From a project management standpoint, I guess they would say agile, where you're constantly developing it with the faculty member? Or do you like specify the parameters that you want, they go away, and then you come back 2 weeks later and you're like, here, we're done. Here's your thing.
It's actually kind of funny that you said that 2 weeks. Typically, I schedule my consultations with the faculty members about every 2 weeks, but it's actually a very hands-on and inclusive project with them. So we want to make sure that we are working alongside the faculty every step of the way. So we have, one of the ways that we do that is whenever we go out and we take 2D images, we'll put them in a Google slide and send that to the instructor so that they can give us input on what captions they'd like to be included on those pictures. And that's just one of the ways that we include their feedback. Another way is having those in-person consultations. We have them come in, we show them what we've been working on, we brainstorm ideas that we have, we talk about quiz questions, potential ways to include their homework assignments into the module. I know Dr. Nichols with that scaffolding module, I'm really proud to be done with that one. That was a lot of work that went into that module, and for it to be in the course is definitely a big proud moment for me. But Dr. Nichols would come in and we would talk about, the exams that he had in his class, and then we would tailor those exams to the module. So that way the students would be able to use that module as a study resource for those exams. So really it's a collaborative process throughout the whole thing.
Thank you.
I see this as being a really cool thing that people could do on like study abroad and stuff like that, trips too. For those, especially because I teach at a community college, and I know it's really restrictive for a lot of students cost-wise and everything like that, that those that do have the opportunity to do it, making it OER could make available to our students that couldn't necessarily afford it. And I do know that there are some things out there that are done with artificial intelligence for like the Petra and things like that for our archaeology and history, that make it immersive, that you can go in and edit the slides and add things. But I really like how this involves students along every step of the process. And all joking aside about stealing the students, even though I would love to, it is really cool to me because I can see a huge explosion in higher ed and everywhere of these skills being really necessary in the job market. And they have real life experience now that makes them so employable that a lot of programs really aren't taking advantage of and giving students. That is such a cool thing. And if I had such a great gift from a lot of my instructors that I got 3 years of teaching experience before I graduated with my graduate degree that got me a job. And this is such a good resource for a lot of these students that they have job skills before they graduate with the degree. And I wish more and more of our programs did that for students, that they had experience when they graduated, even if it's not a field that they think they want to go into when they have a job. So you guys are amazing. And this is so cool. I'm so excited. And I know it's not a question, but I just wanted to say you guys are awesome.
So Thomas, if I could actually turn that into a question for the students, has the experience that you've had on this project and perhaps the learning of these new skills influenced your potential career pathways in any way? I actually had that one written down, so you and I are on the same thought process, Thomas.
So for me, I've always been really interested in accessibility. I have 2 learning disabilities. So for me, working on the VR project, I wanted to make sure every single student was able to access it from day one, would be my big goal. And so applying that to my future career goals, as a manager, I'm going to have to understand a wide range of people, as well as safety, how to make sure everyone's getting the information they need, whether that's just because they do better with reading the material or they need software to assist them in understanding that material through things such as text-to-speech.
I'm going to put Allison on the spot for just a minute. She actually was not in the video, but she is a Southeastern alumni, and we didn't have the ability to pay her as a student worker, so she offered to work with us as a volunteer. And so she is helping to learn Captivate because of the valuable job skills that brings, and makes it easier for her to do more. So can you talk a little bit more about why you wanted in, Allison?
Yeah, absolutely. So I came to the project just about, I don't know, 5 weeks ago, maybe at the most. So my background is in education, and I have about 15 years of experience in education. And I recently graduated from the Curriculum and Instruction graduate program, the Masters of Ed program. And I have been working to pivot into curriculum and instruction in a digital platform, preferably with higher ed. So when I made the contact with Crystala, and I said, is there any way to get experience or any kind of tips that you can give me for making that pivot? She said, well, we have this really fantastic project we're working on. I can't pay you, but it would be great experience. And it has been to learn Captivate. And I absolutely, it's a lot of fun to create the projects, but I can see as a someone who has experience with online learning, both as an instructor, I teach virtually currently in a K-12 setting, but also from someone who has done distance learning on the graduate level. I have 2 online graduate degrees. The opportunity that there is there for making the learning both accessible for non-traditional students, but also richer and more immersive.
Allison and Madison, thank you so much for that insight. It's amazing to hear this influence and what this opportunity has done for you. Thank you.
Brad, I have a question to a student. Your role of production and involvement in the course, how did it affect your colleague, your friend, your roommate? Did they motivate them when you talk about your experience towards the education, courses, involvement?
Well, everyone I've talked to about this project thinks it's really neat. It's especially in this area, it's kind of something that no one gave thought to. People here still think it's wild that we record and upload lectures. So when you tell them that we're recording with a VR camera, it blows their mind, because a lot of the people in our area just aren't familiar with that kind of technology.
So for me, my friends are always really happy to hear that I'm enjoying what I do here at CIDT. I don't think that they're like super, I guess, exactly familiar with the intricate details, but they're always like glad to hear that I love my work.
Just a little bit more context about them. They actually don't just work on this. CIDT has students to provide tech support for Blackboard and online classes. So all of them are our tech support team. And the way that we organize our department is we don't have constant incoming tickets. So every student worker also has a back project. So when they're not answering tech support requests, they're working on these projects. So they get a lot of experience in several areas, actually, not only this one. So they're often they get a lot of teachers who find out that they work for CIDT, and they get held back in class to help them with extra things, and their friends tend to call them on the weekends and holidays if they can't get a hold of someone else. And so they get all kinds of experience in that realm too.
One of the last things I was going to say on that note, my fiance is actually somebody who's really benefited from the project that we're doing. He's the kind of student that has to be in person in order to really understand and get the material. And with COVID and everything, especially last spring when, you know, classes shut down in the middle of the semester, that was a really big change for him. And he had a really hard time kind of managing the online coursework after that. But with this project, where we're able to kind of bring that in-person experience online, whenever he kind of views the modules that I'm working on, or when I kind of test them and I'm like, hey, I need you to come check this out from a different perspective, he's really excited to see that eventually we're going to have a capability for, even if he does have to take an online class, he'll still be able to get that in-person experience that he needs to succeed in his course. So it's kind of neat to get that from somebody who I know is going to be very honest with me about the project. And it's neat to see, like, from his perspective, how it's going to end up helping a lot other students as we get the project and we move forward with it.
Something else that they are helping with is, as being an OER project and something that we want to serve the state with, we're also working on taking the things we learn and putting together kind of an instruction guide. So each of them have a part that they will be writing to give instructions. So Dakota's working on instructions on how to use the 360 camera, and Max is writing instructions for using Captivate. Jared is writing instructions about SCORM. Allison's writing instructions about accessibility. So those are just examples. All of them have a piece of that, and that will actually end up in a Pressbooks, which Brad talked about earlier this morning, and that will be available to anyone in the state also.
I have another question. To the student, would it be helpful in learning if you get involved in construction of not only this course, because part of your job, as Crystal mentioned, but involved in building the courses with instructor, be active participating in production rather than passively go in the class? Wouldn't you be more motivated to build the course and learn from it?
So as somebody who definitely captions a lot of the videos, it's always interesting to see like different courses that maybe I won't have the opportunity to take because of my major and scheduling. But it also helps me to more thoroughly understand the courses that I will be taking in the future or have some knowledge. For example, if I'm captioning sociology videos on the side, I don't take sociology. I'm not likely to take sociology, but I'm still learning a lot by working on that content. So I think it's a way to allow us as students to have a broader understanding of the world as a whole.
I was going to say on that note as well, when Madison mentioned the, she doesn't take the sociology classes, being a studio art major, really I have a very limited kind of view, and most of my classes don't involve Blackboard or any online component at all. But the courses that I work with in CIDT, they're from the safety department, the history department, the computer science department. They're from a wide range of subjects. And we do help them build their courses from the ground up. Whenever we have a new instructor and we're kind of showing them the ropes of how to use Blackboard and how to use our online learning devices, we have to kind of, teach them how to build an assignment, teach them what's going to work, taking that in-person classroom assignment that they may have handed out in person to bringing it into an online platform. And so it's been a really unique experience to kind of see that transition and work with the instructor one-on-one to build that course from the ground up. One of the courses that comes to mind again is the scaffolding course with Dr. Nichols, because he had that exam that I mentioned earlier, and it was really confusing. It was an exam that students had been struggling with for about 20 years or so. And it didn't count for a lot of points. He had just kind of wanted it to be an extra study resource for them. But when I sat down with him and we talked over, the module that we were going, we actually realized that the exam was configured in a way that was really confusing to students. So through our VR module, we ended up actually changing his course entirely. And not only including that VR module to be used as a study resource for them, but changing the coursework and the way that his class was configured so that students would have an easier time going through the assignments and lessons and things like that. And they ended up getting more out of it not just from the VR project, but from the course itself because of our work with him.
It's an interesting one with the example of the scaffolding assignment, because that's where it's a high stakes thing. You know, there are real human consequences to that learning activity for those students in that program. And I just see it as such a benefit for them to even be able to repeat that kind of an activity before they ever go out and actually build scaffolding, you know, where somebody may have to test how accurate they are. So that's pretty awesome. Great. I do see another question in here, kind of switching gears a bit from Thomas again. Do you have any campus wayfinding, or have you thought about applications like that for this? And Crystal, I know, and I don't recall if you actually showed it in this one because I've seen so many iterations of this, but you are using this in the context of a library, I know, for kind of space exposure there. But any other applications you all could think about, you know, potentially with spaces on your campus?
You could do a tour for anything or everything. We can just as easily take a picture of the street side and have it to where there's a hot spot that goes into, like, say, our science building, and then we could start a science building tour. Really, it's limitless. The only thing that's going to hold you back is your time and how detailed you want it.
I could
go ahead.
Sorry. I could definitely see a campus tour scenario because as a incoming student, sometimes trying to understand the dimensions and trying to make sure you know where your classes are going to be is a struggle. I remember moving into the dorms and I had no understanding of how the dorms were going to look when I walked in day one. So a campus tour that allows me to explore the room in 360 would allow me to understand dimensions and understand what I will be walking into.
Dakota, were you going to add something?
My thought process was kind of like in the way of Nathan's thought process, because we could basically make a tour of anything.
Thank you all.
And the tour that we are doing, Jacob Fox isn't on today, but Jacob is actually, we have two Jacobs. So the other Jacob that's not here today, he's actually a library student worker. He doesn't work in CIDT, but we started working on the library one and we had a lot of pictures and we wanted to make sure it was all put together right. So I talked to the library and they sent him over, and then he got really interested. So he decided, instead of just, you know, sitting by them while they put it together, he wanted to learn it too. So we've had a chance for him also to learn Captivate. And he was one that you actually got to see in the video a few minutes ago. So he's been putting together that tour.
Hey, Crystal and Brad, I'd like to make a comment. How's everyone doing today?
Thanks, Lon.
For those of you who do not know me, my name is Vaughn Royal. I'm the executive director for OneNet, and I also serve as the chief information officer for the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education. I want to commend Crystala and her team for an outstanding job. When Crystala and I, when our paths crossed, we both had certain needs. I had a particular need because I had a passion for exploring new technologies. Anyone who knows anything about OneNet, we're constantly thinking outside the box. And I found a partner in crime in Crystala because she had that same type of approach. And it has been enlightening for me today, though, to see the student supporters that she has. I commend each one of you guys. I understand why the project has been as successful as it has, because she has a tremendous support staff with each one of you. I can tell that each one of you are bringing a unique skill set to the table. I recognize the benefit and the skills that have been gained by each one of you. Some of them are tangible and some of them not seen, but they will carry with you throughout life. As the director of OneNet and the types of projects that we're doing, I'm encouraging anyone who would like to explore this in other realms to broaden scopes to reach out to me. Because as you can tell with this technology, the sky is the limit. Crystala is going far beyond what I had originally envision. And we know that there's definitely more levels and a larger scope that this can be taken. But I commend everyone, and you guys are doing an awesome job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not seeing any other questions coming in the chat yet, so I would just like to give an open opportunity to the individual student panelists. Is there anything else that you would like us to know about this project that was not included in the interview video or that we really haven't discussed here? And again, just so you know, the audience that you're really sitting in front of are a lot of people like Cristela who sit on our different college campuses, try to serve faculty. We do also have some faculty individuals that are on here who could perhaps find ways to use this in their own courses. So any tips, advice, anything else that you'd like to share, this would be a really good opportunity to do that.
Really quick, as somebody who's talked to faculty that may not have been that excited about using technology for their courses, really, this is just an opportunity to make any course more accessible to students. It's going to have a further reach than an in-person classroom has, and even an online course could have. It's a way to bridge that gap between the online community and the campus community. So really the sky is the limit with projects that you can dream up. If you've got the idea for it, take it and run with it. It's not as hard as it sounds to kind of learn Captivate and use the materials that we've been using. So really, like, if you have the gall for it, go ahead and try it out. Nothing's stopping you.
Thank you, Max.
I would kind of piggyback off of that and say I have spent some time in curriculum and educational sales as well. So, I'm thinking in that way with the ability to scale courses, but with high quality and in a real personal, an increased human aspect that's brought back to an online course for digital, for remote students that, you can expand your reach. And as someone, I live in Ohio, so my experience with Southeastern Oklahoma State started as a graduate student, but from a distance, and I appreciated a lot of the things that they did to make their courses a higher quality than some of the other schools that I have been at. And this is one way to do that, improve quality and scale courses for a larger number of students.
I want to point out really quick too that these modules are going to be used in both online and face-to-face classes. A lot of those science ones, yes, it's good to have as a resource in case students can't be on campus, but they intend to use them for their face-to-face students too. Their thought is that they can have the students do that before they come to the lab to actually do the activity so that they can be well versed in what to do and what to expect, and then spend their time really focused on what they're doing, not trying to figure out the expectations or what things are in the room.
I would view the VR project definitely as a multi-sensory and a multi-learning style learning platform and software. You can have your visual learners, they get to see things, which is very helpful. You have an auditory for video. They're able to hear things, and then kinesthetic can move around things, and they especially have a VR headset, be able to move around the space. So this is not something that's just one type of student can learn from. This is a platform that allows all students to learn at their ability and to get them to interact with the material in ways that a classroom or a textbook can never do.
Thank you, Madison. Again, no pressure at all for anybody else to share. Thomas put a comment in the chat here. It would be really interesting for a new student institute or orientation resource as well, not required but accessible for those who need it. I completely agree, Thomas. And again, look at where we are right now. We have an entire series of students who were admitted during a remote instruction period, who could perhaps have their anxieties eased by tools like this by coming to campus, by just having the opportunity to look around in those spaces. I think, as Madison was saying earlier, it kind of lowers that affective filter that they would feel within our environments there. Absolutely.